Okay, I want to kick off. I'm excited and also yeah. Oh, how's your week been?
Week has been warm, both really unproductive and productive at the same time.
That's somewhat confusing.
But I was quite happy. I did I just did it, but I ran outside a bit and shot some B-roll, like general Amsterdam stuff.
Very nice.
Which was fun. How's your week been?
All right. Yeah. I feel like I had about 4 boiled eggs made of stress, but so,
that's a new measurement.
Yeah, little tiny hard boiled eggs of stress that slowly digest in my tummy, making me feel worse and worse and worse.
Are we talking tiny like quail's eggs?
No, like not an ostrich egg, but definitely bigger than a chicken egg, and it feels like I ate them whole. But I don't know. They're probably passing through. So
I was just gonna try to not say anything about passing eggs through, but you went there. I feel fine.
I don't know. It's been a horrible, stressful week. But it's Friday.
It is time for weekend.
I am determined not to wake up in the middle of the night worrying about things. So yeah,
good job.
That's what I'm planning. Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, with Fridays come mysteries.
That's true.
So I'm pretty sure we each have one.
Well, can we welcome everyone?
Welcoming people is a good idea.
Welcome to Crime by the Bar.
I'm Jonatan.
I'm Anna.
And we're here with your crimes. Well, not your crimes. We're not judging your crimes.
We're here with our unsolved mysteries for the week.
Indeed. Might not even be crimes, who knows? They're mysterious.
They're very mysterious. Yeah, I'm very curious about yours. So, in line with our worst first policy, who's going first this week? This glorious Friday.
Weeks again.
I know, I need to stop doing that.
I know nothing about yours, but I think that mine is not that bad. It's not good. It's definitely worse than my last week's round-off, but...
Okay. I'll just do my spoilers, shall I?
Oh, yeah.
I have 1 death in mine.
Okay. So do I.
Ooh. Brutal?
Technically, yes, but not graphic.
Yeah, me too. Rock, paper, scissors, it?
Yes, always.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Ah.
And yet again, we forgot to determine what we were determining. So you get to pick, I suppose.
I want to go first.
Then go ahead and go first.
Okay, because I feel like I rarely go first. And then I get
wonder why.
Yeah, good point. And then I get to sit here and enjoy my drink. Okay, I am going to Dublin for mine this week.
Dublin?
Dublin. Dublin's fair city where the girls are so pretty. Yeah. Have you heard of Raonaid Murray?
Raonaid?
It's the Irish or the Gaelic version of Rachel.
I have not, no. I am curious to hear how it's spelled though, because I do love that name.
It's Raonaid.
Raonaid. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And no, I have not heard of it.
Anyone listening from Ireland, I can almost guarantee has heard of Raonaid Murray. It's one of the biggest unsolved crimes that we have in the country. There's her and one other case that are both pretty widely known. Okay, so little bit of backstory. I'm launching right in. Raonaid Murray was born on New Year's Day in 1982. She was the youngest child of Jim and Deirdre Murray, and she had 2 older siblings, Daniel and Sarah. The family, she was actually born, and the family lived in Glenageary in South Dublin. So it was, it's part of Dublin, but it's a little bit outside the main centre. So Raonaid wanted to become a writer and planned to study at University College Dublin. Her school life was fairly uneventful aside from 2 things that I will mention. which are also arguably not a big deal. She was retaking her final exams to improve her marks so she could secure her spot at university. And she also had a falling out with an older school friend who she'd then distanced herself from. Those are the only things, if you look into it, that you'll really find that are in any way surprising. Otherwise, by all accounts, she was well liked. She was, popular enough, not exceptionally so, but not unpopular, well spoken of, blah, blah, blah.
I have a feeling we're going to get no more.
Yeah, you're pulling faces like I'm saying these things for a reason.
Indeed I am.
So by September 1999, Raonaid was 17. She was in her last year in high school. She did regular babysitting and worked part-time at a clothes shop called Selly West in Dunleary Shopping Centre, which really was no distance from her house. It was like less than half an hour's walk away.
Mm-hmm.
On the 4th of September, Raonaid had been working at the clothes shop until 9 p.m. and then she met a friend. They left together and headed towards Scott's pub on George's Street. And just to give a bit of context, that's like less than 100 meters away. It's like 2 minutes walk, no distance at all. And yes, the legal drinking age is 18, but no one gives a shit. So she was at the pub for about 2 hours. She left at about 20 past 11 to go home and get changed before heading to a nearby nightclub called Paparazzi. This is sort of that inevitable point of the story where you get conflicting witness statements and it's all a little bit confusing about exactly what happened.
Sure, nightclub, middle of the night.
Well, there were conflicting stories of exactly that, yeah, whether she ended up just leaving from the pub or going to the nightclub and then deciding to go home and get changed out of her work gear or what the story was. Yeah. But more or less we're quite sure she left the pub or the area around 20 past 11. So the walk home should have taken around 15 minutes, but by 11:45, so like 25 minutes later, she was reported to be arguing with a man in a lane between Silchester Road and her home in Silchester Park. The little lane is called the Cut. All of these little areas have little nicknames. So this little sort of leafy walkway you could go through with a bike or on foot, but you couldn't really go through with anything else. Okay. That was called the Cut, and then all the little streets around it was called the... Wow, I'm slipping back into my original accent. All the little streets around it were called the Meadows, and like TALS. And there were a couple of different routes she could have taken home. It's sort of assumed she went down the Cut to get home, but again, it's all a little bit sketchy from the witness statements because even though she'd grown up in the area, lived there her whole life, a lot of people were sort of going, well, I saw someone who looked like her and it's dark, so I'm not too sure, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And there were a lot of people who sort of came out and said, yeah, I saw her here at this time. And some of them were known to just be, no, you must have seen someone else. But they more or less think she went down this little leafy alleyway.
No, thank you for clarifying. I was going to ask because I especially reported with the argument thing.
Yeah.
Because unless that's a big spoiler, but that often comes up, and when it just comes up and isn't really expanded upon, I always get skeptical.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is a little bit weird. All reports refer to this guy, or almost all reports refer to this guy that she was arguing with. But it seems like it was heard, not seen. Witnesses heard a female voice, probably hers, shouting, "Leave me alone, go away and fuck off," followed by a scream. No one admits going towards the scream or actually seeing what happened around that moment. What we do know is Raonaid staggered about 60 metres, so like 200 feet, towards her home because this was no distance from her home. And just after 12:30 a.m, her sister Sarah and a friend stepped out of a taxi and found Raonaid's body less than 45 metres from their front door.
Whoa, okay.
Yup.
I'm supposed to be the abrupt one, but yes, I did not see that going that fast.
It happened that fast.
Okay.
Do you want to ask questions or do you want me to continue?
No, sorry, please continue. I was a bit shocked, but let's go.
It is kind of shocking. So many police officers at the time were suggesting the killing was a random attack. One witness came forward a few weeks into the investigation to say she had identified the murder victim from photographs in the media and had seen her on the night of her death close to the scene of the crime. This is one who actually later said she saw her arguing with the young man.
Okay.
She described the man as being dressed in a beige jacket, beige trousers, and, direct quote, a dead spit of Liam Gallagher, as in singer from Oasis. And it was 1999, so, like, I guess, yeah, fine, whatever.
It's something, I guess.
So, the aftermath. More than 100 officers were assigned to the inquiry at the height of the investigation. The killer wasn't identified. That guy wasn't identified. The whole thing was super sketchy. There are a lot of investigators who said they were working 14, 16-hour days. They weren't taking holidays. They were really working around the clock on it, which is quite interesting because a lot of her friends who were around the same age, 17, 18, maybe 16, were really not impressed by the way police handled it.
Okay.
And, thought either they didn't really care or there was something dodgy going on. But the police story is totally different and it gained nationwide coverage. So it also doesn't make a lot of sense that they wouldn't give a shit about it.
True.
There is quite an interesting rumor that maybe she was having a thing with a police officer, but it seems to be unfounded. Like it's quite an interesting, fairly prevalent internet rumor, but I can't find any evidence to support it, especially not at the time. There were at least 13 people arrested in connection. No one was ever charged, though. There was one officer who was pretty senior and involved in the original investigation. His name was Detective Inspector Eamon O'Reilly. He said a local man with a heroin habit, who would have been around, early 30s at the time, was his prime suspect. And that guy was also known to carry knives. But, yeah... I feel like that's, pin the prime suspect badge on the local heroin addict with
local
mental
low-life,
issues.
Convenient thing.
Yeah. It didn't really make a lot of sense. The other thing was she had a handbag and also a carrier bag with her, and neither of them were in any way touched. So it didn't seem to be motivated by money in any way. Nothing was taken. And there was also no sexual assault of any kind.
Okay.
So, but...
And just thinking of their so-called prime suspect, if you have someone you're putting, those labels and that persona on that hard, even if it wasn't the prime motivator, the opportunistic element, completely putting that aside, it's a bit weirder.
I find it hard to believe a heroin addict didn't at least...
rummage?
Yeah, you think? Or why didn't someone see him disappearing off?
Yeah.
Anyway, but not that all heroin addicts are going to kill for their habit, but it seems a bit strange. 10 years after the murder, a special Garda unit was basically called in to investigate the unsolved murder. They ended up identifying a whole bunch of mistakes and oversights at the original point of investigation. There was a lot of things that just didn't add up. The detective inspector who pointed to the heroin addict guy, he was involved in the original investigation, and it turns out there were a lot of things that weren't really looked into, weren't followed up on, and actually the school friends' stories of the police not taking them seriously start to get a bit more credence at this point. Okay. There was also a school friend who made a reference to using soft drugs. I assume they mean smoking a bit of weed or something. And they said they were really dismissed for that reason. But I couldn't find specific references to them actually smoking weed or anything. But it just sounded like the police didn't really care and didn't want to know what was going on with the other teenagers. Interestingly, on the 16th anniversary of her murder, Garda released the following statement. That this was appealing directly to the public. Someone is protecting the killer. It is time for that person to make the call. We're asking you to make that call now. Now, what actually happened to her. So I didn't tell you how she died or what the weapon was. There's some really weird mixed reports in it. It's suggested that the murder weapon was a kitchen knife. We definitely know it was a knife. There are mixed reports on the size and the number of stab wounds. The typical report is that it's 1.5 inches long for the blade, but some of the reports state it's up to 6 inches long. Initial reports...
That's a big difference.
Yeah, I know, right? Initial reports... it stated that there were 4 penetrating stab wounds or just 4 stab wounds. And that's pretty much anything I can find from around the time, like 99, 2000. However, later on, we get some more detailed information, especially after the probe. And in those reports, it seems like we're talking more like 30 stabbings or attempts.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yet again, a very big range they're working with here.
It's really strange. And most of the news coverage doesn't go into the gory details of what happened. So if you look up RTE News or whatever, you're unlikely to be able to find any reference to actually what happened other than it being a stabbing. They don't go into the specifics. Interestingly, later reports have said her clothing wasn't completely penetrated by some of the jabs, and based on that they think either there was a struggle and she was moving away, or the person doing it was not very experienced and maybe didn't have the strength to really go for it. There were also defensive wounds on her arms. So she did it's maybe not clear that she fought back, but she definitely was trying to sort of stop what was happening. There were also some interesting claims that there was a blood-marked kitchen knife that was found on a rooftop of an abandoned building really near the murder scene. That has never been confirmed by Garda. However, they've said that the murder weapon was never recovered. So, but they won't comment on that specifically, which is pretty strange.
Well, I mean, if they, even after this came up, say, no, it was never recovered, I would assume that wasn't the case.
But wouldn't you say, no, we didn't find that anywhere? Rather, or we found that and it had nothing to do with the case?
Yeah, I guess.
It's strange.
It kind of is, yeah.
And that came from a leak within the police. A suspected leak from within the police.
That's okay. I was a bit dismissive. That makes it more interesting.
Do you want some more evidence?
Always.
Okay. Another witness had reported a voice in Silchester Crescent, or that area, around 12:10. Now, bear in mind, the attack happened somewhere between 11:45 and 12 o'clock.
Okay.
And they heard a voice there 12:10. And if you were there, you would think you'd have seen something. But, I mean, the witness didn't see anything, so who knows? What are they doing reporting it? There's also, this is where, well, I think this starts to get really interesting with what the friends have claimed. There was a report of a man and a woman acting suspiciously also in the Silchester area on the night of the killing, very near to where it occurred. So there was a statement made shortly after the events, but the statement was lost. So officers forged a new one. However,
okay. Sorry, yes.
The man who made the statement then reached out directly to Raonaid's family to say he was really concerned that they'd done this, like lost the report and then created a new one. No more information on that. Then
this person didn't bring up to light what... was the correction or the reforging accurate or something?
Yeah, don't know the difference between the original report and the new report. Just know it was forged, and I guess that was turned up during the probe 10 years later. But he did reach out to the family to say, hey, this is all a bit strange. And I do have a description of the man and the woman that were seen. So the man was described as being in his 20s. He had short dark hair cropped at the sides. He was between 5'10" and 6 foot. So that is like between 178-ish centimeters and 183-ish centimeters. And yeah, with the short dark hair, we know he wasn't the same guy as the Liam Gallagher lookalike dude. So interesting. He was of slight build and he was wearing dark coloured trousers, but definitely not jeans. So again, definitely not Liam Gallagher guy. Poor Liam Gallagher. I mean, he has enough problems without us dragging him in. Well, we didn't do it. It was some other witness.
I'm more concerned, like, no, wearing jeans. Could definitely not have been him. Like.
So the woman was, who was also in the area, she, there's some interesting reports on this because we know she was spotted there between 12:20 and 12:30 as well, so a good while later. But she was seen with him a little bit earlier too. She was about 5'6", so 1.67 m-ish. She was thought to be between 16 and 23 with shoulder length dark hair as well as dark clothing. And yeah, she was walking away from the crime scene, but she did seem to hang about in the area for a little while.
Okay.
More evidence. So, in 2010, after all this drama, police finally confirmed that female DNA was actually found under Raonaid's nails. They ended up taking samples from 50 of her friends and family and excluded all of them. In the end, it didn't match any of the people that she had been known to be with in the days leading up to her death. Yeah. There are also quite a lot of reports, but again, as far as I can tell, never confirmed by police, that there was saliva collected from her body itself. Yeah.
Oh.
Which strikes me as personal. Very, very personal.
Or, I mean, we did mention this off the record a bit last week, body shots.
No, I didn't want to make it kind of horrible, but it was, if it's true, then she was spat on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not as good.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to...
No, that's on me. That's on me.
No. You know what? We should be factual. But I if it's true, that's utterly horrible and really fucking stupid.
Well, yeah.
But yeah. So the original suspects were, first of all, there was that guy in his mid-20s, the one who looked like Noel Gallagher. But it didn't seem to go anywhere. There was also a guy who was picked up by a taxi driver in the early hours of Saturday morning, who was described as having blood on his trousers. There was a whole bunch of information on where he was picked up and where he was dropped off, and he didn't actually go into the house where he was dropped off. The taxi driver thought it was super weird that he didn't go into the house, so kind of made a note of it, and they looked into it further and couldn't find any guy matching that description that lived in the house. So they did later track him down, like quite a while later, but nothing came of it. So, but again, there were a lot of things that weren't followed up on the time, like the information on the guy and the girl, that was never actually followed up on. So it might not even mean that much that they looked into it and didn't get anywhere. There was also a cook who was arrested and questioned, but again, released without charge. And going the whole way back to the summer, on the 29th of July, Raonaid was seen in a nightclub, the same one she was going to on the night of her death, paparazzi. She was seen dancing with some guy, and then she later went to her local Abracadabra. I love that name.
How have I never seen that?
Abracadabra.
It's perfect.
But yeah, they ended up in this Abracadabra together, and he was described as hassling her, but nothing seemed to come of it. And just to throw another little one in the mix, there was a Kenyan immigrant who... This gets so complicated and messy, but essentially he was being a bit of a shithead and threatened someone and said, "I'll kill you like I killed Raonaid." And he then was subsequently murdered and was he dismembered? Yeah, he was dismembered. Yeah.
Okay. What?
I know, it escalates super quickly. He ended up being killed and dismembered, and it was bad. And later on he did a whole bunch of really, really bad things, but they pretty much ruled him out.
Okay.
Like, no, I'm not even going to tell you all the horrible, nasty shit he did, because the guy was a scumbag. But it also didn't make any sense that that he did it. He was described as being violent towards women, but it was determined that he wasn't involved in this random attack.
Okay.
Or, well, this attack at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a while they were trying to pin it on him.
I mean, if you say something like that, then yeah, you should investigate that.
Yeah, for sure. But there is one person that we haven't talked about. Do you remember anything from back at the beginning of our story?
Yes, I should. God, I'm...
Well, first of all, do you have any questions?
I don't think so, other than what are the police doing, possibly?
So apparently the investigation is still open. But there is one suspect who they haven't really been able to get a proper hold on, and I don't know exactly why not. The school friend who she had a falling out with from back in the day, turns out she is a bit of a dodgy character and left Ireland a year after the murder.
Oh.
Yeah. So...
And they don't know where she left or left for?
They won't release it, but she lives abroad and periodically comes back to Dublin because she does still have connections in the local area. So whenever they made that appeal about someone who knows what happened, there's a lot of suspicion that they're referring to her and the guy who was with her that night. Someone knows what happened. And she's also had a family member who's spoken out and said potentially she did this. Basically, they're saying that, well, the rumors are, so apparently she had some kind of disagreement with Raonaid, and they had a massive falling out. Raonaid wasn't a big fan of her, felt like the whole thing was a bit, and distanced herself from her whenever they were still at school.
Okay.
It seems like she was a couple years older, this mystery lady. We do know that she was prone to violent outbursts and has since attacked at least one other female.
Oh.
Yeah. The friends of Raonaid say that this woman has never been questioned properly by Garda, and she was actually looked into in very early stages of the investigation but was treated leniently. There was also, like I say, that relation who expressed concerns that she might have been involved, but again, no action was taken.
I'm assuming most of this was also before they had confirmation on the DNA thing, right?
The DNA thing came out 11 years after.
Yeah.
And all the initial reports was it was definitely a guy. Yeah. And they... Again, initially we're also trying to say it was a totally random killing, which doesn't make a lot of sense. It's only later that they've said, well, actually, there have been no similar attacks before or since. And we don't think it's the work of a serial killer. We don't think, it obviously wasn't, or it appears not to have been motivated by theft or any kind of sexual motive. But yeah, this mystery school friend person also was described as behaving strangely after the murder. And it was only later on, whenever she came to the attention of the Gardaí for the other violence against women and things like that. So there's something really strange going on there. So the guy who, Eamon O'Reilly, the one who said the heroin addict did it, there seems to be some really weird behaviour surrounding him in the original investigation, and he seems to be the one who didn't look into her further. He's also one that seems to still insist it was a random attack. Generally, not just related to the mystery lady, it's suggested he didn't look into vital evidence, and it was because of him that they didn't get any evidence on that suspect, and now she has total immunity from the investigation, claims this leak inside the police force. There was... Yeah.
Does it sound like, since you've investigated this, I really want to ask, does it sound like incompetence, indifference, or as if this person might have had a connection to...
The whole thing is utterly bizarre, because whenever you throw it in with the rumours of the internet rumours of potentially her having a fling with a police officer and there being jealousy there, then maybe there's some involvement. But I was wondering maybe if it's some kind of relation to him and he's covering for someone he knows.
Yeah.
Like family friend or actual daughter, cousin, niece, whatever. I don't know, but it could also be just pure ignorance that no, it's going to be a random attack because it's a 17-year-old girl and, you know, she doesn't really seem to be mixed up in anything that would result in getting her killed, and you know, pretty young things don't get stabbed unless it's bad luck. I don't know. The whole thing is just like laced in ignorance. Yeah, this guy, Eamon O'Reilly, he's also accused of not doing any kind of search for the killer's potential escape route. So not looking into any ways that the killer could have left, not looking for evidence along any of those routes. So whenever we talked about how we're not even sure what route Raonaid took from the pub home, even worse is we don't know what route the killer might have taken, and none of the surrounding areas seem to have been checked for evidence. Yeah. So the mystery school friend, it was known where she was on the night of the murder. She was staying at a house, no information of whether it was her place, someone else's place, but there was some kind of a basic search carried out there.
Okay.
But it wasn't done in a complete way, and now it seems like they can't give any more information on it, and I don't know. It's utterly bizarre.
Yeah.
Just to round it up on that suspect, we know that they are occasionally in Dublin still, so it's not like they're out of the country, never coming back. They do have connections. They're known to have aggressive outbursts. They definitely take medication for violent mood swings. And like I say, we know they've assaulted at least one other woman, and they've previously been in psychiatric care. Now, on the one hand, I think it's really bullshit, like I said with the heroin addict guy earlier.
Yeah.
To, you know, pin the prime suspect label on someone who, you know, is dealing with their own demons. But at the same time, there are a lot of things here that add up to quite a solid suspect. And that combined with finding the female's DNA under the fingernails years later, it seemed kind of unbelievable that they haven't been able to get any more information on it.
Yeah, true.
But the actual details are so thin on the ground. So at this point, she would be probably late 30s, mid to late 30s.
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that is more or less it. So after those original theories, the only, so about the Noel Gallagher type and about the heroin addict dude and whatever else, the review team only came back with two theories. One of them was that it wasn't the work of a random killer, which was a brand new theory, believe it or not. And the other one is that whoever killed the victim would have had some sort of a personal grudge, and that it was likely a woman who did it. That's it. Those are the two new conclusions they came to, and it kind of lines up with the old school friend.
I mean, compared to the history in this case, I mean, yes, this is slightly more on track from what we can gather.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about the handling here, and I don't like to baselessly blame, especially not when we're talking police and stuff. They do a lot of work. There's a lot that can't come out due to, well, especially when an investigation is open and all these things.
Yeah.
But listening to some of these things and then also connecting to the fact that this is Dublin.
Yeah.
This isn't like some weird little hamlet somewhere.
No, it's
where people don't understand how, I know, the world works. No,
yeah,
that's
not
judgmental.
No, but it's not like the other case we had in Ireland that I was talking about with the woman who was potentially killed by her flatmate or her flatmate's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Where they didn't have actually someone to do an autopsy there and stuff like that. You know, you're right. It's Dublin.
Yeah.
You know, come on. It's a city. It's a capital. It's, you know, people should know better. People should actually care, and they should have resources, and stuff like this.
Or at least a slightly wider mindset.
It's not like the first murder in 50 years in this tiny place in the middle of nowhere. It's like actually something that gained national attention and should really be adequately looked into. But no, the whole thing is really... I find it utterly strange that that as well, there seem to be so many people in and around the area and no one said or did anything. Like no one went... Well, I guess, it's midnight and maybe you don't want to walk down that wee alleyway. But at the same time, they're all local people who are super familiar with the area.
Yeah.
And you think you would know what's normal and what's not. And I don't know, by 1999, I think mobile phones are becoming a bit more common. So you'd think, Raonaid had a mobile phone. Like she made a couple of calls on it that night when she was arranging to meet a friend. So it just seems kind of strange that no one else in the area saw or heard anything that made them go, I should call the Garda. Weird. Totally weird. One other thing that I found quite strange, which I wasn't sure if I was going to mention or not, was the gravesite was vandalized within a year.
Really?
Yeah. And to me, that kind of screams personal grudge. You're going back and
definitely
as potentially as the killer going back and doing it. But there's no, I couldn't find any information on who would have potentially done it. But it seems a little bit strange that happened within a year and the schoolgirl friend moved away a year later. So...
this is a bit dark, but do we know how it was vandalized?
I don't, but I'm sure it's look upable. I either forgot or didn't.
Yeah. Didn't want to go there.
The other thing was there was a tribute site, so the family are still really pushing for answers, and they still have hope. They launched a tribute site, I think, in 2009, and that also was vandalized, like as in digitally vandalized.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Again, don't know the details, but it was. So that again kind of screams like, well, definitely not that it's a personal grudge, but you don't know what trolls are going to get up to, but it just, to me, that's the direction I would go. Like, I would think someone with a grudge, someone who probably did it or was involved in it.
And this makes it even more infuriating because if you... Okay, fine, they might have bungled the investigation at the start, but if they haven't even looked into 2 repeat instances where they could find more clues, or maybe they have and can't release, this is possible.
Yeah, if it's an open investigation, maybe there's a lot more going on there that we don't know about.
Yeah, but the possibility of both, like 2 scenes with physical traces and 1 scene with digital trace, like
it's getting easier and easier to track. Although 2009, that is a long time ago, and I guess cyber surveillance has come a long way since then.
Kind of, yes, but there was a lot you could do, especially if you were, official, and that combined with that people knew way less about how to cover their tracks back then.
I don't think anyone would have known how to use any sort of IP masking software or whatever back then.
Not really, no.
Yeah, but that's my mystery for this week.
It is... To be honest, the main feeling I get is not mystery, it's more infuriating, but it is still mysterious.
The funny thing was, I almost did another one, which I would quite like to do on Tuesday.
Oh.
Because it was really good, but I couldn't bring myself to do it because my thing is the culprit is a little bit too obvious, even though it's unsolved officially.
You did mention that.
It just seems super dodgy, and even the family is pretty sure they know who did it. But it's all a bit grim, and it's also involving an Irish girl, 15-year-old this time, but as opposed to our 17-year-old. But yeah, some horrible home crimes this week.
Indeed.
Grim.
That was grim, yeah. Sorry.
Was mine worse?
Catching myself. I would say so, yes.
Okay.
I think yours is worse. If nothing else, it's also worse on the whole. One of the things that I struggle more with is like the thing you got caught up on towards the end with, people not doing anything, people not saying anything, just leaving it.
I find that so sad, but also would I have done it? I think I would. I'm instinctually a bit of an idiot. I tend to sort of know, but like whenever you know about that incident with that person getting threatened, and my instinct was to like get in the middle and protect her, which is dangerous and very, very stupid. And we were both very lucky.
True.
But I think instinct does take over, and it's not a matter of being logical. It's a matter of fight or flight. And I guess for most people at midnight in a dark alleyway, when you hear a scream coming from around the corner, you're probably not going to run in there for some random stranger.
Like, no, you don't necessarily need to play the hero, but like doing something, catching a glance, seeing, should I call someone about this as well?
I know. I totally agree, but
no, but I know also that when you're thinking of like, okay, contacting the police or something, you're thinking of the emergency line, and a lot of people don't want to do that if it's not warranted.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my Friday mystery.
It's a good mystery.
Do you think it was the mystery school friend, or do you think it's just like random coincidence? I guess we don't know, but the only other suspect that I'm like thinking could be involved is the guy that she was supposedly arguing with just before. And even that, I mean, if it was a female witness that came forward and said it, who's to say that that female witness wasn't our mystery school friend?
That's true. If we don't know that, and also, I mean, I think the mystery school friend is a high candidate. I didn't think of the possibility of her being the one claiming to be a witness.
I mean, it's not mentioned anywhere, but that's kind of where my mind went whenever it was a female reported seeing this guy who was wearing dark trousers with the short hair and blah blah blah. Was that guy? Okay, so the witness that came forward a few weeks into the investigation, that was the girl who said she saw the Liam Gallagher lookalike. So
I was going to ask you if that was the one or the later one.
No, so the one who saw the guy and the girl, that was a dude who said that. That was the one.
Right.
So he's the one who made a statement to police that they then lost and forged. And he reached out to Raonaid's family to say, hey, this all seems a bit dodgy. But the Noel Gallagher one came from a woman.
I mean, that
it's the spitting Noel Gallagher.
Thinking of that statement in conjunction with the possibility of it being a semi-false statement from someone who was involved or in cahoots.
Yeah.
And
can you imagine if it was?
I'm just getting this horribly cliche view of like maybe she was involved with the person and like couldn't help but I don't know, throw in a flattering compliment or something in the fake witness statement, which is horrible. But
Noel Gallagher's not even. I'm just thinking, all these poor Americans who are listening, going, I don't know what the spit of means, and I don't know who Noel Gallagher is. No, but like I don't.
The spit of is
the spitting image.
Yeah, but it's pretty international.
Is
right?
it? I don't know. It feels very local to me.
Okay.
And Noel Gallagher is the lead singer of the band Oasis, and he always has arguments with his brother Liam, and they just look like scruffy, typical 90s kind of skater types with bucket hats, but their jeans aren't that baggy. Yeah, fair. Close enough.
I think so. I've been trying to remember how they actually look this entire time, and I'm failing. So, yeah.
Then again, so just as a different note, of the man and the woman that were described as being near there at the time, they said they never found them. So maybe the woman who gave the Noel Gallagher description of that separate person, maybe she didn't fit the physical description of the girl with mid-length hair and dark clothes.
Well, one would hope. Otherwise, they just did not include her on the basis of, no, she's a witness. She's not a suspect.
Or, I mean, dyed her hair or whatever.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. But I find it really sad that her friends were so outspoken at the time that the police weren't taking the thing seriously.
Yeah.
And the police went from sort of saying, oh, it's definitely a random attack and blah, 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 to it's definitely a man. And now it's like 10 years later, a massive investigation. Well, it's definitely not a random attack, and we're pretty sure it's a woman.
Everything the people we ignored at the start said was right.
I wonder why they searched a house that she was in. That's also super strange.
Yeah, true.
The mystery school friend girl.
It is weird. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of weird.
A lot of weird.
Mm.
Anyway, I suppose that's it.
Okay.
Okay. Jonatan, tell me your story.
I will gladly. Today, I'm going to tell you about Günther Stoll.
You what?
I'm going to tell you about Günther Stoll.
Okay.
Günther is a common name, right?
Sure.
Okay, sorry.
I mean, it's fine.
So, we're in Germany.
Yeah.
You suspected.
I know where Germany is.
Yep, good job. So, we're talking with Günther. Günther was a food technician or food engineer, which I'm not too familiar with. In this case, it definitely doesn't matter because, unfortunately, Günther was unemployed. And he had been for some time.
So what was the food engineer previously worked as?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was his title. That was his CV, I suppose. His LinkedIn profile, whatever they used in the 80s. But yes,
his
he was...
fax cover sheet. I don't
know. But he was unemployed. He lived with his wife in Siegerland. And I'm actually going to show you a photo of Günther. Doesn't he look, calm and charming and like a nice guy or so?
Those are some pretty deep set eyes.
Yeah, I mean, the photo's not perfect, but...
Dodgy dude.
If you say so. But as mentioned, he lived with his wife. Over a period of time, during his unemployment, of course, he had become increasingly nervous, and it kind of escalated over time, starting to push into straight up paranoid territory.
Uh-oh.
So he had several times expressed worries turning into fears. To his wife, he had mentioned basically whatever the equivalent in German is, they're out to get me kind of thing, with the capital and paranoid T of they.
Okay.
So this had been kind of escalating for a while. And we're going to the 25th of October in 1984.
Okay.
Wonderful year for paranoia.
I bet.
He was acting up a bit during this evening, kept mentioning them to his wife.
Bet she's thrilled.
Well, probably not, but I mean, they were together, they had been together. She had heard this before. But suddenly, during this evening, he shouted, "Now I've got it." And he rushed to grab some paper. On a note, he wrote 6 characters, which looked like they spelled out YOG''TZE.
Okay.
And then, after he wrote that, he crossed it all out, scratched it out.
Uh-huh.
And, he was satisfied with that. Immediately after this, and I think it was around 11 at night, Günther went to the pub.
As you do.
Yeah. He was agitated. He apparently wanted to, he couldn't calm down. So he said, "No, I'm going to go to the pub. This will be fine."
I don't know very much about German culture. Is that normal?
I mean, I can see it happening here. Right?
I can see it happening in Ireland.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It shouldn't be that weird. It's a European thing, I'm sure.
He's an ex-food engineer. Shouldn't he be going off and making little stacks of, I don't know,
Well, 11
cake?
at night. You need some beer at 11.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. You've kind of thrown me for a loop, Günther.
Well, yes, and there will be more loops. But Günther did go to the pub. And this was located in Wilnsdorf. And it didn't take him that long to get there. But when he came to the bar, he ordered a beer, literally standing by the bar.
Okay.
And sitting down there. But like pretty soon after he got his beer, he seemingly collapsed and fell off his stool and on his face.
What? Okay.
He appeared to have been, there were a lot of witnesses in the bar, so that was not a problem. He appeared to have been hit pretty bad and was like bleeding from his face.
Yeah.
But the patrons didn't think that he looked intoxicated or anything. They helped him up. Günther kind of like, oh, I have no idea what happened. I kind of lost consciousness, blacked out. Thanks for helping me up, I guess.
I mean, it's the pub. They've seen it all before.
Probably.
There's worse places to pass out.
I mean, this is Germany. Come on. Sorry, that was horrible. But yeah, patrons helped him up. It seemed to be fine after this.
Yes.
Even though that should be worrying. But shortly after the collapse, he only had the one beer. But after this, he left the bar, drove away in his blue Volkswagen Golf.
Gotta love a Golf.
I do not know what a Golf is. Well, I've seen an image of it, but
seriously, I don't know very many cars, and I know what this is, so this is kind of a miracle.
Congratulations. I'm kind of stuck in either Volvo or Formula One cars.
Yeah,
nothing in between.
I'm kind of stuck in the old supercar Formula One cars, which I can work out by year, and obviously filigree and all that stuff.
Oh, of course. But yeah, he drove away in his car. After this, we're not entirely sure what happened, but at some point after 1 a.m, then we have a statement again, because he drove up to an old acquaintance's home in Seelbach, which, just looking at the map and doing a route, is approximately 16-minute drive from Wilnsdorf, where the pub was.
Okay.
So this is, I know, 1.5 hours after he left-ish. We have no idea what happened in this period.
Maybe they summoned him.
I do not know. We will see. You'll have plenty of room for theories afterwards. But yeah, he reaches Wilnsdorf, and this old acquaintance was an old, apparently very religious woman who lived next to his old childhood home. So like, she knew him, but like they weren't close. She hadn't seen him since he was young, basically. And so Günther tried to talk to her. He kept mentioning like a terrible event that was going to happen that night.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he was rambling a bit on this end. So the woman was pretty understandably not really in the mood after 1 a.m, having this weird person she kind of knew come and shout in her front yard. So she basically just urged him, like, okay, drive home, get back to your wife, get some rest. It'll probably be fine.
It's pretty good advice.
In general, yeah. So according to her testimony, he was ranting a lot about how she didn't understand him, but in the end he kind of accepted, and it looked like, no, okay, I'll go home to my wife, was the general impression she got, at least.
Okay.
However, yet again, we're coming into a period of time where we had no clue what happened.
Oh, of course.
So
I like this bit, though. I really do enjoy these bits where all of the reports become a bit muddied, everything's a little bit unclear. What happened?
It gets weirder and more unclear. So this was, around 1.
Yeah.
Then he drove off.
Yeah.
Then, right after, I think it was 3 o'clock in the morning, a truck driver named Holger Meffert, sorry about that, is he was driving along the A45,
Yeah.
which basically goes, it doesn't look, it's probably not the route he took between the pub and the acquaintance, but it runs parallel, it's close, it's not a weird place.
Okay.
He's driving here and he spots a blue Volkswagen
Okay.
in the ditch at the side of the road.
That's not ideal.
It looks pretty beat up, as in the car looks really damaged.
Okay.
So Holger sees this. He pulls over a bit further up the road. There was an emergency phone there, he knew. So he stopped his truck, got out, called in the accident to the police.
Good job.
By the time he did that and walked back, another truck driver, Georg Konzler, possibly, sorry, had seen both the car and the truck and had also pulled over in, a nice move of solidarity, I feel.
Is everything all right? Blah,
Yeah,
blah.
there's a lot more nicer human reactions in this story.
Oh,
compared to
rather than
yours.
just people who apparently aren't doing
Pretty
due
much.
diligence.
Yeah. But no, the second truck driver, he had also pulled over and was checking. So they kind of joined up and then walked over to the car to see what was going on. The pair approached the car and found Günther completely naked and severely injured in the car.
What is severely injured specifically? What were his injuries? Are we getting there?
We're getting
I need to calm down. I'm excited. Naked dude in a polo. That's always exciting. In a blue polo, no less. Wasn't it a polo? What was it?
golf.
Oh, sorry. 4-letter car names.
True.
All very exciting.
Yeah, O's and L's and everything.
They're just letters.
Yeah.
Letters in different orders with different ones.
Just like Jogze,
What?
the YOG''TZE.
Is that how we're pronouncing that? I'm waiting for you to tell me that's the number plate in one of the trucks.
No, that's not how German number plates work. That would be a nice twist.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. No, when I see this written down, I haven't actually heard anyone pronounce it. I've only seen it written down, but I think always like some kind of Lovecraftian deity thing. So that's kind of where my mind goes.
Good for you.
Yes.
Number plates all the way with me.
But back
I'm
to
a
poor
simple
Günther.
Poor golf.
I honestly don't care about the golf. But
I'm
I feel
sorry.
for Günther.
Oh, naked, poor
Yeah,
naked.
he's naked. He's injured.
Yeah.
He's in the car. The truckers get up to him and try to help him. Günther is barely conscious at this stage. He told the truckers that there were 4 other men in the car with him that had then left.
That's creepy. That's actually giving me the creeps. That's too creepy for a Friday night for me to be left alone. I don't drive. Why am I even creeped out?
You're not
It's
driving,
creeping
and you're not
me out.
alone either.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's creepy.
Gets better. So, the truckers asked Günther, these men, were they your friends, or like, are they around? Whereby he very determinedly said no.
Uh-oh.
So, the truckers were shortly afterward joined by the emergency services,
Yeah.
but Günther died on the way to the hospital.
What? What was wrong with him? You can't just do this to me. I need to know this. You may keep going along with your along the same trajectory. I just...
You can vent. We're really close. The last point I'll tell you before explaining was, so Holger, the first trucker to pull over, he told police that he had seen a man in a light jacket and looked like a white shirt walk away from the car as he drove past, like just before he pulled over.
Whoa, so there was someone else around.
There was definitely someone there.
No, I'm actually getting really creeped out by this. This is creepy.
And now, for your information, well, the information you've been waiting for. So, as police started investigating this, they uncovered a lot of strange facts. First off, Günther's injuries had not been caused by the crash.
Okay.
They concluded after the investigation that Günther had been run over
What?
somewhere else
What?
by a different vehicle
No.
while he was naked.
What?
Then he had been placed in the passenger seat of his own car, which was then driven to the site on the road,
Huh?
and where it was discovered. And it was when it was dumped and abandoned there that the car had sustained the damage.
This is utterly bizarre. And it's creeping me out so much.
It is weird.
How have I never heard of this?
I thought you would have,
This is amazing.
I mentioned, I hadn't heard any details on this crime. I've just seen basically the weird references to the notes he made at the start, but I hadn't heard all of it. But yes, okay, police, there was no doubt there was foul play here. The police started the investigation. The main thing they could actually get and confirm was there were several reports of drivers along that road or in the area that night that had seen a strange hitchhiker after the car had been found.
Oh,
but
creepy.
they didn't manage to find any leads or anything there.
So they had people saying, yeah, we saw a hitchhiker, but no one who admitted to picking him up.
No.
I wonder what happened.
Yeah, and everything just pointed to one person, but Günther said there were 4 people as well, which is also interesting.
But it's also do we believe him? Do we think he's reliable?
Yeah, who knows? It would be easy to call to write it all off, but
It wouldn't it?
partially the fact that there was at least one other person there, and also the fact that someone must have driven him there and dumped the vehicle with him in after running him over.
Oh, yeah. But why would one stay?
I mean, that might just have been timing, just as they were getting rid of the car and then getting away from there, just bad timing that the trucker saw him. It's possible.
But then what happened to the other car? They would have driven off without the other guy. No.
Or maybe
this
the
is
other
giving me-
people, up to 4 people, maybe the other ones took the car. Maybe they left when they saw the truck. This dude was left behind and he tried to leave.
So getaway driver was in the car with 2 of the other guys. Oh, I just need to go back because I left my phone or my socks or my whatever.
Possible, yeah.
And then it's oh shit, another car coming. You know what? We'll just drive on. If we have an opportunity to go back and get him, we will.
Yeah. It's possible.
Oh, I'm so creeped out by this. Oh, this is I think this is up there on my top fears. Me going, there's people. They're after me. Bad stuff is going to happen. And then they're crazy person. And then it actually kind of happening.
Mm.
Or was it totally random and a massive big coincidence? I don't think it was. Gunther knew.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll get to the theories.
I don't need theories. I'm already wrapped up in my own.
No, but that's one your wonderful theories and narrative. Because there's been a lot of theories.
I bet.
The authorities and as well as a lot of conspiracy theorists try to figure out what the message Günther had scribbled down could have meant. It wasn't really made easier though by the fact that Günther's wife had thrown away the note the same evening that it happened, and she didn't tell the police about it until I think 6 months after Günther's death.
Oh dear.
But I mean, she was the only one who saw it, so we don't have access to that note.
I mean, how do we know she wasn't just making it all up?
Why would she include that though?
I don't know.
That's a weird thing.
Maybe she did it. Maybe
She's
did
the only
it.
she's the only witness to that note, so we can't be sure, of course.
Yeah. No, I don't think she did it, and I don't think that she made up the note, but just being contrary.
True. But so there hasn't been any real breakthroughs or updates basically since 1985.
What happened in 85?
So sorry to get your hopes up. That's basically when the last big update came in the form of an episode on TV. We're talking 12th of April in 85.
Okay.
And yet again, so sorry for this, but Aktenzeichen XY ungelöst.
Did you do German at school?
Oh, never. No,
Okay.
I did not.
Do you want me to have a stab at that?
If you want to.
Can you point? I want to try my best angry German.
The third from the bottom.
Achten Zeichen XY. Unkalaus. I don't know. Sorry. And then
I think a bit
threw
of
it
Dutch
at you.
is sliding in there as well.
Yeah, it really is. Sorry about that.
So, translated, this is just case number XY unsolved.
Very nice. I kind of want to watch this. I want to have someone passionately yelling German words. Did you?
I watched this specific episode. So this is basically, for context, the German crime watch.
But in the 80s.
Oh, yes.
That's hilarious.
Even better. So I checked it up, and this show has actually been running since 1967.
No.
To this day.
No.
Which is kind of impressive.
That is quite cool.
It looked ridiculously boring in the 80s, I'll tell you.
No mad graphics?
No. Like, okay, they have a kind of weird and drawn out intro, and then it's just a really narrow shot of a guy sitting at the most boring desk ever, talking about crimes, and then they do reenactments.
How bad are the reenactments?
Not ridiculously bad, actually.
There's a level when it's like hilariously bad. I was sort of hoping for that.
No, they got close to that level when they did the scene with him collapsing in the pub, because they had like, okay, we don't want it to look too fake, but we can't really do the stunt of him falling and breaking his face. So they did like the bit of a swoony thing, and then had like a first person view of a camera, like, ooh, tumbling to the floor. And then him lying down.
Very nice. Very nice job.
But yeah, like this, as with Crime Watch, and if you don't know that, basically reenactments and information on the crime combined to basically get people of the public to come forward with new information.
Is that what they do in America's Most Wanted?
I would suspect so, but I haven't seen it, so I'm not sure.
Can someone please contact us and tell us if that's what they do in America's Most Wanted?
Please do.
I've never seen it, and I could look it up, but yeah.
More fun with intro.
Yeah.
But no, if you're interested in this, you can find the episode on YouTube, which I did, and watched it, which was interesting. So I am going to show you, just in case my little spelling out of the letter wasn't too clear. So we do not have the actual note, but as it was shown in the reconstruction, I'm showing an image.
I love when you do pictures.
Basically the letters, and then him having scratched them out afterwards before he left.
Could it be Yogi T?
Yogi T.
Look, it's not an apostrophe, it's an I. It's T's. Yogi T's. I think he just...
anything is possible. So people have tried to...
Thank you for the pictures, by the way. I always enjoy a good picture.
Like, so many people, this is the internet, this is a weird thing. Of course, everyone tries to find something. So, okay, the police tried to...
Theories.
A few. At the actual time, the police, of course, went through, like, checked every known language. Could this mean something? What could this be? There were, after this episode aired, a lot of apparently amateur radio operators called in and were convinced that this must be a Romanian radio call sign. And? Which would work, provided that the G, if that could have been mistaken and was actually a 6, number 6, it would perfectly fit a Romanian call sign, apparently, for radio.
Oh, what is the call sign?
So I'm assuming letter, number, some sort of break, and then 3 letters. Like, they didn't go into specifics, but like, no, that's the format of a Romanian radio call sign. But no, nothing came of that, so they didn't get there. The most popular theory online appears to be people trying to recreate this message with like slightly sloppy handwriting and then turning it upside down. And like, oh, look, it's a perfect sequence of numbers that no one knows what it means. But
so did he spell it out to his wife, or is it just what she remembered seeing? Or
it's just what she remembered seeing.
Oh, so it could be anything then.
Could be.
Kind of.
But people have really latched on to the Yogtse thing and how that should be interpreted or what it is and all that.
Wow.
But yeah, so like I said, this is still unsolved. It is completely mysterious. No one knows really what happened. And yeah, I mean, people bring it up. It is, well, considered, at the very least, the most mysterious unsolved crime in German history. But
I can't believe I've never heard of it.
yeah,
It's really good.
it is interesting. And it's weird. And to be honest, as I was researching, I was mostly focusing on the weird angle. But
Yeah.
seeing your reactions, yes, there is so much creepy stuff about this as well.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think happened?
I mean, it's so tricky because, okay, we're only going on external witness statements. And like,
Yeah.
the wife, was she exaggerating his paranoia or mania? Maybe not. Like, if he is running around in the middle of the night in a seemingly crazy way, but saying like, no, something horrible will happen tonight.
Yeah.
Something obviously happened with what appears to be pretty much like criminal intent towards him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what could have happened.
I mean, do you think what happened to him was related to all of his concerns in the lead up to it? You don't think it was some random thing or something that just occurred the night of? You think everything was leading up until this point?
I do not know.
Do you think it had to...
The main thing, like, it all depends because we have to decide if we trust the statements or not. Like, I do believe that during that night, he knew, like the whole thing, he had never like said or gone out with like weird doomsday prophecies or said like, no, I'm going to die in this time or something horrible is going to happen.
Yeah.
He had been paranoid with the whole like they're out to get me kind of angle.
Yeah, which I mean,
which is, it sounds crazy, but it is like vague enough. And like the only reference I could find to him saying something as specific as, no, something terrible is going to happen tonight.
Yeah.
That was the night he was killed.
I love that. What is that from? Territorial Pissings, I think, Nirvana. Just because you're paranoid, don't mean
So
they're not
out
after.
to get you. Yeah.
I love that line. I love that line, and it's just so creepy and
So true as well.
yeah. And I mean, if I could have an answer to one thing, other than who did it, I guess, it would be, is it related to his breakthrough?
That's the weird thing, because that's also timing.
Like
Such a
that
timing
happened
issue.
that day.
Yeah.
I mean, if he hadn't have had the breakthrough, what if the place was bugged? What if his house was bugged?
Who knows? This
What
was.
if his wife did to it? I don't think so.
This was back in the waning days of the
KGB
Cold War, I
and-
guess.
Yeah.
Before the wall, at least.
Yeah.
Before the wall fell. That's
Yeah.
where it might have been.
What was this, early 80s?
This was 84.
Yeah. Okay. Creepy. Oh, I like this one, and it's awful. Also, naked. I mean, was he naked because whoever did it wanted to reinforce the dude is crazy? Did they ever find his clothes?
Not that I could find. And just the fact also, like, I would have been more on board that line of reasoning and thinking. If he would have just been found naked in the car, but since they could determine that no, he was naked when he was run over.
That's utterly bizarre.
And he was run over outside of his car, but somehow still near enough to his car that they could put him in and drive him off.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I mean, I would argue that maybe they had him naked to run him over because they thought if he's in a car accident and he's naked, he'll look properly like crazy. Yeah. And if he ends up sustaining injuries, that he'll bleed through his clothes, then it'll be a bit weird that his clothes are missing. And then that points to someone else being involved. Maybe it was pure ignorance that they're not going to be able to tell the difference between him being run over by a car versus him being in a car accident.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that they wanted to disguise him being run over with, like, no, they just put him in a car. It was an accident, or possibly drunken.
I mean, you'd think... Well, no, I was going to say you'd think they'd just crashed the car with him in it, but I guess then you either have to put him in the passenger seat or the driver's seat, and then it gets very complicated very quickly. It's weird.
I mean, he was in the passenger seat. But then also the fact that...
He was in the passenger seat when the trucker found him?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm saying this... There was a statement saying that he was put in the passenger seat when they drove him.
Yeah, see, that's...
But also...
But he was
in
still finding
the
it.
video reconstruction, he was there. So I'm assuming that's what the police knew.
I just assumed they later worked out he was put in the passenger seat, but they'd found him in the driver's seat for some reason.
No, well, okay, yet again, according to the reconstruction.
I just can't get over that they left a guy behind. Because, yeah, how do they get into the middle of nowhere? Unless it was the one guy who drove him out there and the plan was always that he would walk away. Because that could happen. Of
course, and maybe he was supposed to, like, torch the car or something, but then didn't do. I don't know. The one thing that really stands out to me as well is the fact that he was alive when the truckers found him.
Yeah.
Like, we were talking barely, but he was still alive.
Yeah.
But this was still, remember, 2 hours after he was last seen.
So what had happened that entire time?
Like, I don't know if they could judge from the injuries how long he was...
Injured
if there was
for?
an image, if there was a period between the injury and the driving off, or how that happened.
Yeah. Oh. Maybe the other guy was instructed to stay with him until he died.
That would actually make sense.
Yeah.
And just make sure that he wasn't, playing dead, and then just like, no, if he's fine, that's good. If he appears to be getting better, just
bop him on the head.
Yeah.
Wow, bop him on the head is our go-to, is it? Believe the death threats and bop him on the head.
It started with the education of cats, I guess, but no, ferrets, yes.
I want to go back to this. This is really intriguing. Very good choice. Yeah, would that be the most sensible thing? This extra person was told to stay with him until he died, and he's completely disorientated about when there were other people in the car, how there were other people in the car, blah, 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 whether it was even the same car.
Yeah.
And the other guy is just waiting with him.
True, the 4 people could have been in the other car.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because if he's slipping in and out of consciousness anyway, and he's not really with it, then maybe he's not even aware of...
He's been run over. I can see that happening.
Someone took his clothes off. Maybe he took his clothes off.
But then why?
I don't know. I mean, Scottish warriors running into battle naked with their bleached hair. I mean...
Yeah, but that is a conscious and stylish choice.
Okay, but maybe for him it was like, there's 4 blokes running at me. Let's whap everything out and see what works.
To be fair, that's not a bad tactic.
I mean, if you have nothing else to go with,
yeah,
flopping your junk around is, it's at least going to confuse these mystery people.
True.
Oh, I wonder if that's what it was. How creepy would that be? Stay with him until he dies. Then all of a sudden, trucker starts pulling off to the side of the road, or sees something, and it's like, hey, he's slowing down. He's rubbernecking. Okay, I need to get the fuck out of here.
True. And that would also explain, like, I can imagine if that was the plan, I could imagine that, no, you stay there, make sure he dies, and then just either walk over here or walk home or do the thing.
Yeah.
But then him, panicking when he thinks, oh, they might have seen me, I need to get away from here fast.
Yeah.
Then trying to hitchhike or whatever.
Yeah, in case they're scouring the surrounding areas. I don't know, hitchhiking just seems so dodgy. Unless the 4 people thing was just nonsense.
Yeah,
because, it's
but at
interesting.
the same time, there must have been another vehicle he was run over with.
So they know he wasn't run over by the Golf.
Yeah.
I guess tire treads or whatever.
Yeah, true. Or, I know, paint pigments or something like that.
Yeah, you're right. So there must have been at least one other vehicle or one other... Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't work. Because my initial thought, whenever it was like there was a guy walking away and then the hitchhiker, it's like someone picked up the hitchhiker and then he killed them and kept driving in their car. But I mean, you could make it halfway across Europe and dump the car anywhere and it's not related.
Yeah, true.
Especially if you're ending up getting in a car with someone driving to some random country. It's like, this person has Czech plates on. Where are you going? Oh, I'm trying to get to Prague, but as close to it would be amazing. Like if you can just take me to the next town or the nearest town or the furthest town that you're going to, that would be great. Oh, I actually happen to be from blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden this car shows up back in the country of origin, so it doesn't look super suspicious. Dead body in the trunk, and it's never connected because it's the 80s. And
I mean, this is super horrifying, and there is so much that can go wrong with you hitchhiking, but you just starting that little tangent, and I just feel like, yeah, I should hitchhike to Prague.
What is wrong with you? This is my brain all the time. I'm terrified.
I mean, I overthink things all the time, but I do tend to assume that the one who's going to do me the most harm is me. So
yeah, you're the big lumbering human. Okay, well, have we exhausted our theories?
I mean, we don't have that much else to go on, so I think so.
I would love to know what everyone else thinks on this one.
Definitely, especially since I'm pretty certain we won't actually get an update on this.
I mean, how cool would it be if we did?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Imagine if they still had that car and they could swap the seats. That would be amazing.
That would be cool.
Send your theories to crimebythebar@gmail.com or tweet us at crimebythebar. However, I believe, unless you have anything to add on this, you have a few little extras you want to talk about this week?
Just some minor things. First off, I do want to correct myself, and I have no idea what I was thinking, but remember last week, you were talking Boston.
Was I?
Okay, we got to discussing on some point something mentioning Boston, and
the Boston ties. You know what it was? It was Sue from last Friday. It was my mystery.
Oh, sorry, I got them confused.
Last week's mystery, yeah, for me.
Yeah,
the Boston tie.
Yes, which I realised was just me completely botching everything.
Okay, tell me how you botched it.
What I was thinking of was a Colombian necktie.
Okay.
I might have gotten that confused with a Bavarian bow tie, but that is way worse. So, the Colombian necktie was the thing.
Are you going to tell me about it?
Do you want to know?
I don't know, do I? Or do you want to save it for another time?
No, I did actually look up and see if I could find any crimes where this occurs.
Oh, dude, why don't we... I think we should do our regional threat one, and I can do one with the Glasgow smile.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yeah.
I didn't find that. I might as well say this one. Maybe I'll save the... I'm pretty sure the Bavarian bow tie is just completely fictional.
Okay.
But the Colombian necktie thing is, supposedly when someone is killed by their throat is cut vertically, and then they pull out their tongue out of their throat.
Is that real? Is that possible? I guess a bit.
I mean, yeah, technically possible, definitely, but if messy.
Yeah, you'd think.
When talking about real, I know it's definitely been referenced in a lot of real situations, but that is, very much in Colombia. We're talking, cartels and political things, but I was looking for cases where, more along our style of cases where it actually happened. I couldn't find a single one. So
okay, well, good to share. That is horrifying. That will haunt me. Thank you. At least I won't be dreaming about work. I'll be dreaming about this.
There
Good
you
job.
go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, wonderful.
The other short note I had, just to clarify, because we got a bit confused when we were talking about the hindering apprehension thing, which I actually did look up.
Amazing.
But I still have no clue what it's doing in that case with the... So the husband's name was Alex. I do not remember the wife's name. Heidi, yes. With Heidi, because everything I've checked a lot of states, where they have hindering apprehension as a defined thing. And it's basically always when, like, put forward or threatened to like witnesses or people involved when they are either obscuring or in general, like obscuring information or making an arrest or conviction more difficult. So like make it more difficult to police to catch a suspected criminal, or to conceal or harbor another criminal, or aid them with weapons, money, etc., etc. So it's basically every reference I found to it is, you know, when
talking about someone else.
Yeah, someone else towards the main suspect or the main perpetrator. So her getting that either implies that there was a second party involved, which doesn't sound like, no.
Yeah.
Or, to be frank, the police kind of comes off as a bit of a dickheads in that case, with like, oh no, you committed a crime and you didn't help us catch you, so here's some extra years to your sentence.
I don't know. Maybe it's like the interrogation equivalent of perjury. It's like, you know what, screw it. We're definitely not going to get you on this. But, you know, but you know what I mean? That's a decent enough argument.
A bit cheap, though.
Well, for all we know, she was like really not admitting to ordering the thallium for... I mean, she said she ordered the thallium for research purposes. Maybe she covered it up initially. Maybe she was super sketchy about the research. I don't know. I honestly, I'm inclined to agree with you, but also she's a murderer, so also kind of don't care, love.
Well, true.
But yeah, I get what you're saying, and that is quite interesting, and it is a bit of a dick move in some ways, but...
A little bit.
I'm very impressed that you looked that up.
Of course I did. We're all about the facts and research and wine here.
And wine.
I think that's the sign that we should sign off.
Yeah, we should sign off. Thank you so much for listening this week.
Thank you for listening.
We wish you a very happy weekend. I'm so excited that we have our second country in Africa this week.
Yes.
Or is it our second? I think it's our second country in Africa. I know we have South Africa already. But
no, I think you mentioned some other country was the second in Africa after South Africa. So I think it might be the third.
Yeah. See, I have it in my head now that it's the third, but I can't remember what other country we had after South Africa. Anyway.
To find out, you'll have to tune in next week.
We have new listeners in Kenya, so welcome and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you so much.
To all our loyal listeners, thank you as well. We love having you here. You can always give us a shout on Twitter at Crime by the Bar. Or
you can send a longer, semi-novel or just a nice little message to us via email. Send it to crimebythebar@gmail.com.
And you can check out all the fun extras on www.crimebythebar.com.
And if you're in the mood for even more extras, or if you just like what we do, you can always check out our Patreon, which is patreon.com/crimebythebar.
And until next week, farewell.
And goodbye.
Bye.
I'm wondering if red wine making me, if it gets stuck in my throat more. I'm feeling more coffee today.
Are you?
Well,
Yeah.
Either that or the ice cream set me off. I'm not sure.
Don't have ice cream ever again. It's bad for you.
Ice cream is best, especially if you're sick.
I know. I'm not. I wanted to
See the
instill
look of
rage.
terror in
Yeah,
my
pretty
face.
much.
Yeah.